I think it's well after Dad passed, I think that was like a harsh reality, right? So like feeling like you're so like how when you're in your 20s and even like your teens, your 20s and you're leading into your 30s, you feel invincible. Like nothing's gonna fuck you up. You could just keep driving forward. You could, if you need to change course, whatever, no big deal. And I felt like I was still in this bubble of like perfect little Pleasantville life, and then Dad just abruptly passes. He was there 1 minute, literally hanging out with him on a Sunday, and then Sunday night, I'm driving back up to the cottage to go see him in the morgue. Like, that's
now,
a harsh
if you're willing to share, what have the conversations between you and your therapist been like, or just with you and yourself if you were there?
Oh, like if that would have happened?
If you were snowmobiling with him.
We actually never really talked about it, but my mom was there with him, and, she's gotten better, but the trauma from it, man, had to be unreal, And I'm just thankful that I got to spend his last day on Earth with him. I was there literally with him up until like an hour before he passed. And the last words we said to each other was, "I love you."
Welcome back.
There we go.
I saw, and you did too, not too long ago, Ed and Mike at Pilsen Fest.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
they're passing out the
Chaitiva.
Passing out the, I like to call it the light weed because it's like it's hemp derived, and everything. So,
okay.
Yeah, but no, they've been loving doing that, man.
They're killing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the passion is palpable, I guess.
Yeah, their passion for marijuana.
He's like going like 10 to 10, like and like just doing his thing with like content creation and recording all the other vendors at Pilsen Fest. And
one thing I give him credit for is they do go all in on it. And Ed's been, ever since I've known Ed since high school. Oh, sorry. Yeah, ever since, Ed and I, because Ed and I and Mike, we all grew up together. But even when Ed and I were in a band together, he was always trying to mess around with like video, videotaping things, and he always had like a camera in his hand. Actually, a lot of the time. Whereas I liked making funny videos. I think he was still trying to figure out what to do. So the fact that he's making video content doesn't surprise me because it's something he's always liked to do.
Yeah.
And Mike, I'm just happy that he's able to do those like painting courses in Chaitiva, and what a smart idea as far as like branding is concerned.
Right.
To get people come in, eat a couple edibles, and then paint for like a couple hours.
The slushies are tasty.
Yeah. Have you had them before?
Yeah. I missed them when I was there, but we were in Wicker at the moment, and we're like, I've always wanted to go.
Yeah.
It's always kind of a pain in the ass to drive there, but
getting to Wicker is not always easy.
But no, we love those guys, and I keep meaning to. They'll come on eventually. They'll come on the podcast and share their stories and stuff.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's been a little over a year since you've been on, and since then, another baby.
Yeah, another one.
And different job situation as well.
Yeah,
we're prepping for you to be the band at our wedding. So a few very happy things that are going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, over the past year, life has changed for the better. When you and I met in June last year, which oddly was on my birthday, and we were planning to do another podcast on my birthday again this year.
Time flies.
I know, isn't it crazy? Like, I was driving here thinking about it. I'm like, man, I feel like it was just maybe a few months ago that we did this.
I mean, it is, but it like feels so long ago too.
Yeah, it does.
Was it a good birthday?
This year? Shit, I can't even remember. That's like the hard thing about getting older. It's like you're trying to remember. My birthday landed on a weekday. Landed on a Thursday, I think. Just had some family over for dinner, and then I think I went up to the cottage, my family cottage, to enjoy it. But, overall, another year here on Earth. Happy to be here,
Yeah.
But,
That's one of my favorite clips still.
Yeah. What?
Or just remembering to be grateful.
Yeah.
For everything you have.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny because, like, as I was, I took notes, even back in June when we were going to meet again. I took all these notes of things I wanted to talk about. I was trying to, like, encapsulate from last year to this year things that have gone on and, how I've evolved and so on. And, there's obviously, I was thinking about this, there's like two sides of the coin. You could be either optimistic or pessimistic. But then also I feel there's also a realist in the middle, right? And I'm trying to kind of find the medium or the balance between them. So,
and is there The other coin, another coin is like how to be selfless and generous with the people around you, and then the other side of that coin is being selfish to fill your own cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So how do you give, but also how do you give to yourself? And, that's the practice of self-love, right? Giving yourself grace are those things that, I know it sounds cliche, but I always kind of preach to people too all the time. Like, if you're ever getting down on yourself or beating yourself up or feeling like you're not like excelling or proceeding in life the way you want to, I always say stop and give yourself some grace. Remind yourself of all the things you've been doing up to this point and say, you know what, I'm not doing so bad. It's okay. So giving yourself that grace, that moment of saying, why am I beating myself up so bad?
Yeah.
There's no reason for that.
It's harder for some. I know a few people that are kind of just, they're stuck in a narrative. And it seems like they're the victim in that narrative. And for some reason, I'm sure any type of narrative gives you a sense of purpose. But at what point are you going to stop pointing the finger and just kind of like, it's all you? Or you have the power to change it too.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to step up to the plate, and one thing I've found over time, you could push things off for only so long, but eventually things come fruition, and you have to meet it at hand. So the only way life is going to change is if you want it to change. So it's just like when I quit smoking cigarettes, right? I think back to all the years of me trying to quit smoking. But I wasn't really trying. I always just, fell back on it and, picked up a cigarette. But it came a time where I said, you know what? I need and want to change. Not just, I think it's probably best that I do. It was, you have to go all in. You have to throw all the chips on the table and just say, go for it. And that's how you do anything. I feel like you have to just...
Is there a moment or a few moments that helped you realize that, or like where that sunk in?
Yeah.
Where it became a need rather than like a slight desire?
Absolutely. For me, I feel like, maybe not everybody, but with me in life, I feel like the only way I learn lessons is if I crash and burn. I feel like sometimes, like when I'm like teetering on a cliff, that's when I realize, okay, bring it back together, and like when I used to drink a lot, and I feel like I would always smoke cigarettes when I would drink.
Yeah.
But then the next day, the hangover, plus all the smoking, my lungs felt like toothpicks, as I would always tell people. And I was having trouble breathing and like
chest pain?
Yeah. So like obviously wasn't good for me. And I'm like, you know what, man, like this isn't helping at all. And like, so something has to go.
And how old were you when this realization?
I quit smoking, gosh, I don't know. It was like over 4 years ago. Yeah, at least.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's maybe even 2018, but I just use that example though, like just with life changes in general, like doing anything for yourself or trying to make a move in a different direction. It can't just be a half thought, like,
Right. I guess another conversation is like motivation. And like, I guess in the beginning, using any type of motivation to get you off the ground, but realizing that something has to be kind of deep within you for it to be consistent and long-lasting motivation for you to continue with that process.
Well, it's like realistic goals you have to set for yourself. And I could even equate that to exercise. And, everybody, kind of battles through this when they want to lose weight. They say, okay, well, I could use myself as an example right now because I'm the fattest I've ever been in my entire life because I'm happy, because I'm also taking care of a newborn and I've been kind of, setting my needs off to the side, but in the long run, that's going to affect me. So I need to take better care of myself so I can take better care of my people. Right. But my point is, some people, when they want to lose weight, for example, they set these lofty goals. And this is why people usually fail in losing weight or getting healthy, is because they say, you know what, it's June now. I want to lose, 40 pounds by September or October. Like, that's drastic. Even 20 pounds is drastic. You have to say, you know what, at the end of this month, I'd like to be down 2 pounds. And by end of August, I would like to be down 5 pounds. You got to set yourself those goals. And if you exceed them, that's great, So you got to set yourself realistic goals and then kind of reach for the stars above it. That's usually what I do anyways. I always say, I'm going to set myself a realistic goal, but you better believe that I'm going to exceed that goal and try to...
Everyone's wired differently. I mean, some people might might run on lofty goals and be happy with wherever they do land.
Yeah.
But I think, generally speaking, when they're too lofty, it's too far away to grasp.
Yeah, and then you feel like you're failing.
Sure.
And then, how do you recover from that? Nobody likes failure.
Sure.
So I feel like, you have to kind of find that balance in order to move forward.
So speaking of balance, how has it been going back to like practice sessions with the band?
Yeah, man. I mean, so over the last year, since we met in June, lots of things have kind of happened. As I mentioned, we had our second born. Actually, that week that you and I met for our podcast, I had quit my job.
Right.
Like the day before you and I had our podcast, and then literally a week the previous weekend, I found out that we were pregnant with our second kid.
Right.
Now, I would like to preface that I had been actively job searching for like a month prior to that. I was in like a very toxic work environment, doing this job. And I just knew it wasn't healthy for me.
Can you share what kind of toxicity?
Sure, absolutely. So I actually, I started with this company last year, running a property management company, or so I thought that's what they wanted me to do. And it just, things weren't working out. One of the people there was extremely narcissistic. Really just like he would treat the rest of the employees like this too, where it was I call it like a bully management or threat management, where there's all these
incite
different
fear.
Yeah, exactly. And but also like his priorities are top priority. Always, no matter what you're doing, can wait, even if it's for a customer. Forget about it. He's top priority. And over time, it just started bugging me more and more. And
was he above you, same level?
Yeah, owner. He was an owner.
Okay.
And he just over time, it started just bugging me more and more because I just didn't like the way he treated me, didn't like the way he treated my staff or his staff, and over time, we just started butting heads more and more and more, and it just got to the point where I was like, I need to leave, but I had been at the job not that long. And I was so worried, my pride was so worried that I had just taken on this role in this new position that in my industry, I would have felt like I was excelling and all my peers would have been like, wow, Tom's doing amazing. What a badass. And my pride was making me stay there when I knew I was in a shitty situation. I knew I needed to leave. Sorry, my cable's wrapped up. I knew I needed to leave, but I was like, what are people going to think of me? And it finally got to the point where I just said, fuck what people think of you. You need to do what's best for you because in the end, if I'm not here or, if I'm not doing it, nobody cares. Like
what if people actually left with you?
Oh, so let me get there, bud. It got to the point then where like May rolled around. I had been telling them things needed to change. I kept explaining what needed to be done. They brought me on to help them make a successful business, but they just didn't want to listen to me. I think also the fact that I'm, younger than they were, and they found success in one path, and I'm finding another way, and or at least I know, just the way I was focusing on and trying to explain it to them, they didn't want to do it that way. But starting in May, dude, I just went balls to the wall applying. I applied over to 576 places, online, in person, you name it. I mean, I had over like 20 interviews. I had, I think, 10 different offers. At the end of the day, like I was prepared for my exit. Yeah. So then, come to the point when you and I met, like I'll never forget it. If you actually look at the podcast, I had this huge zit like here on my face, and it was like it was
now we're looking.
No, it definitely, because it was literally from all the stress that I was. Usually, I either get pink eye from, or not pink eye, like a sty.
Oh yeah.
I usually get like when
stress.
I'm like extremely stressed, or that sort of thing. But the day before you and I met, I was in a meeting with him, and the guy was just grilling us. He's like, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And I keep saying, like, because you aren't giving me this, you aren't giving me that, you aren't giving me this. And he, just starts screaming, I'm sick of the excuses. I'm sick of this. And I finally stood up, and I literally told him to go fuck himself.
You literally stood up and told
I
him
said,
that?
you could just go fuck off. I'm done. I'm not dealing with this. So I said, fuck you. I'm out of here. And I literally stood up and walked. I slammed the door. And after I left, I said, I can't believe I did that. I've never done anything like that in my life. Never burned a bridge before in my life. And I was shaking. I was so upset. I was like, I wanted to cry. I was just so frustrated because the guy just didn't want to hear what you had to say. Didn't want to listen. Just they had nothing, didn't care about it. And so, you know what? I told everybody, I said, you guys, I'm going to go visit properties. I'll see you tomorrow. The other owner called me, it was just like, please come back. Like, I understand your frustration. We'll work through it. And I said,
Which guy called you?
So there's two owners.
The other owner called you?
The other owner, who I got along with great. And he is still a great guy. But he's like, please come back. Let's work through this. I said, I've given you guys months to listen to me. I've offered advice, but he doesn't want to listen. And he's part of the reason why you're failing. And I said, you guys will not be a company next year because you haven't listened to me. And I'm like, this was like your last ditch effort to reclaim the properties that you managed and the things that you did. But unfortunately, you didn't want to listen, and you're digging your own grave. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. And then, he's like, I tell you what, I'll call you Monday. If you don't come into work, then, I'll take it as a sign. I said, no, I'm pretty sure I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, so, how could you come back from that?
Yeah, so then Monday, no joke, I was... after you and I met, I talked with, I submitted it was going through negotiation with the company I wanted to work with,
Gotcha.
who I'm with now, and finalized things and everything. But Monday he called me, the owner that I got along with. He goes, it's 10:30. You're not in the office. I said, yeah, last week I thought my exit was clear. And he goes, well, no. He's like, I got to write you up for not showing up. I said, no, I don't think you understand. I quit. He goes, no, you can't quit. I fired you. I said, no, I think my exit was clear. I'm like, best of luck, man. I'm like, I'm already starting my new job on, later this week, and,
that's wild.
Yeah. So I had like a staff of 8, and, as I left, slowly they left. So over this past year, one of my really good friends, I told him, I said, my exit is going to benefit you because they're going to need you to manage these properties and carry forward. So I'm like, stick in there and throw
some experience.
Throw a lofty number at them because guess what?
They're going to need you.
Yeah. So sure enough, he sat pretty for the last year, and it was him and one other staff member who was left on. The others left, and then they hired new people. But come May, they had to sell their business. So I'm not a vengeful person. I'm not a spiteful person. But it was one of those situations, man, where I tell you, it was like, fuck, if you just listen to me, I know that I'm younger than you, and I know you think I'm not experienced, but man, if they had just listened to me, like I was trending in the right direction with bringing in new business. And
yeah.
So
for those listening, can you explain what a property manager may do? And
sure.
My building specifically is going through the ringer of there's citations for it with the city, and some people are having trouble getting loans if they want to sell or want to get their place sold.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless it's a cash deal, right?
Yeah, that's tough. So property management, I was in the condo realm of it. So people who own their property, I managed the common areas of the building. So whether it be the exterior, the landscaping, the roof, the siding, the hallways, I don't manage in the units, but I managed the building as a whole. So with that, with your situation, they're not up to code on things.
No,
right?
Whether it's concrete in the garage, things are leaking. Maybe support systems are not up to code, and just getting a new board. Right. So it's just people getting voted in and stuff like that. It's just it seems like there's a lot of drama going on just amongst the board with the property leader of the property property manager. Yeah.
And a lot of the times, and that's also part of the reason why I left the property management industry, was a lot of the times property managers always button head with the boards because they're a group of volunteers
Yeah.
who believe that they know better than the property manager, who is the professional, the person who is educated in the field and is supposed to be there to help you better your building.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes boards are they're like the snake with two heads. They kind of ruin it for themselves.
Yeah, like a lot of them seem like they have some experience in real estate.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe not necessarily property management, but maybe as an agent or something like that.
And that could be helpful to an extent, but when it comes to like structural integrity, you're talking about leaks, you're talking about foundation problems.
And there are engineers that live in the building. They might not be on the board, but
Yeah.
they've like, hey, I sought advice from this engineer. He said it's definitely not up to code, so on and so forth. And then it just doesn't seem good when the property manager is hiring people that probably don't have insurance or whatever. So there's definitely a lot of back and forth. And I'm because I'm not an owner, I kind of just observe and just stay out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's also, since you aren't an owner, you don't have much say, which is the hard part too of it. But with that
Yeah.
and the condo realm, that was part of the reason why I, wanted to get out of it. It's like, at the end of the day, I was just a liaison. And, when I walked into that company, I had in contract that I wasn't to manage more than 5 properties. I was supposed to manage the staff and build business. And guess what? I managed over 30 properties and
Holy
the staff
shit.
and managed, tried to help.
How do
them.
you build business?
It's tough, especially in the condo realm.
Is it working with agents that show for showings, or what do you mean?
No, so you're looking to manage the association, right? So with the community you lived in, probably has a name. We'll call it Condo Association 2. They hire a management company to manage their books, so everybody's assessments that get collected, and then from there they'll manage like the maintenance protocols and keeping the building up to date. Because it's a collective at the end of the day, right? Everybody's monthly assessments, they help pay for the building's upkeep, Otherwise, if you're self-managed, then somebody like, the owner in 1B collects the checks every month, and they help make sure that you guys have vendors and upkeep. Whereas rental properties, like an apartment, like, say 6 flat, that is owned by an entity. Say, like, I own that building, I'm your landlord. You guys just give me your rent checks every month, and then I figure what I want to do with the building inside and out, in the dwellings, outside of the dwellings, whatever it may be. So with condos, I feel like there's a lot more red tape. Also, you don't get as much say-so, even if you are the management company, because at the end of the day, you're just a liaison trying to guide them in the right direction.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, it's up to them to choose. Whereas in rental land, you, as management company or owner, it's carte blanche. You do what you want. So, but, after I left the management company and having the shell shock of, leaving and going through such a tumultuous situation, it was awful. I felt like I had suffered trauma from it, which is, funny to say, but no joke. I was beat up from it. And, I had been in and out of therapy for the past few years after my dad passed, just to kind of learn with coping with grief and stuff, and dealing with like my panic attacks and everything. And I'll never forget, like, my last therapist. I've been taking a break now, but my last therapist, she, after it was all said and done, I remember her and I talking, and she was like, I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself and putting yourself first. She's like, I literally was watching you crumble, and it was like an awful thing to watch, but now I'm with a company who, no joke, in the past 10 years, they're the first company that seems organized, professional, they're efficient.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, dude, like, I don't have to worry about my team doing their job. When something comes in, they just get to work.
And you're also not looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. I'm also not a property manager anymore, which is...
What do you do now, then?
So I always say I'm just a glorified salesperson, right? But no, I keep getting this cable wrapped on my fucking shoe. I'm just, so my title is Director of Risk Response. I work for a restoration company. Oh. So, like, if your property has, like, a flood occur or a pipe burst upstairs and it leaks all the way down through the building, we come in, we clean, we mitigate, and then we restore it.
Okay.
So, rebuild from, like, fires, you name it.
Wow.
So I still market to the multifamily market, just not in condo anymore.
Do you work with like disasters
Yeah.
at all?
Yeah. So like natural disasters, like, like hurricanes, things like that. Well, actually, we just did like a massive job back in September in St. Louis, where they apparently get flooding all the time. And there's these 3 20-story buildings in downtown area, and they had flash flooding, and it went through down the courtyard into the 3 first floor lobbies and down into the basement, and it trashed all electrical equipment, all mechanicals for the building, and all these people were displaced. But, we had everybody back in there within 2 months, which is, I think that's a pretty solid turnover time. So, but with my job, my job is to connect people. My job is to be a resource to people and help them when they need me in their time of need. And to be honest, did I think this is what I was going to do? No, but I knew whatever my next move was, I wanted to just find a way to be helpful for people and to help people. Mm-hmm. So in some capacity, I'm doing that, which makes me feel a little bit better. But, with that though, like I said, the team I'm with, man, they are just, like I said, it's been refreshing. Yeah. Also, the work-life balance is there, and that was also a big, thing, especially with having the second child, being able to drop the kids off and pick them up and still work. It's just a night and day difference, That alone has kind of changed my, my view, the way my outlook
balance,
is. Yeah, it's amazing. So,
how did you land on it?
Oddly enough, of course, there are people that I knew and I used to work with, right? And some of the other offers were kind of in the same realm. I was also trying to get into tech sales, but I made it to multiple different final interviews, and every time people were just, like, well, you're not from the industry, so, we're going to go with somebody who is, but it is what it is. I can tell you, man, like every one of those tech interviews, get to the last one, and I remember one, I was a panel of me and like 5 like directors, and they were just grilling me question after question. And they thought I did great. They're just like, you know what, there was another person that has like a couple of years of sales within the company, so we're going to go with them, but we'll keep your resume. And I just reminded them, I said, guys, sales at the end of the day is sales. You educate your person on the product, and they'll be able to sell it. Doesn't matter if it's a foreign object. It doesn't matter if it's, technology. It doesn't matter if it's a refrigerator. It doesn't matter if it's a desk. Explain to the person how it works, and they'll be able to sell it if they know how to sell. And, it is what it is.
What do you think makes a good salesperson then?
I've been saying this since day one. Treating people like people and not like a dollar sign. So, I'm into relationship building, because my job right now, like what I'm selling technically, isn't really a necessity until it is. But it always will be, because it's not about if, it's about when when the loss happens at your property, or, when the fire happens, when the pipe bursts. But what do you do then? Who do you call, So my job, or the way I like it, is, I'm just building relationships. I'm almost like I'm making friends throughout it, right? I'm meeting new people and finding a way to be helpful to them, be a resource, help them be proactive. So if their building runs into it, they're prepared. Instead of having to be reactive, they're proactive. So I think that helps with a salesperson being, helps you be successful as a salesperson.
Yeah.
And then also listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like believing in your product or service?
Oh yeah, that helps 1,000%.
Imagine if you didn't.
I've had some sales jobs in the past where
you've built meaningful relationships, and when it comes time to talk about your product and service, you're like, that's a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, and especially when they when they go to do the work or deliver the product and it's faulty or
sham job.
Yeah, exactly. So that's always the hard thing. So it's like, and then you're constantly doing damage control. Where with right now, I mean, I've had loads of work come in since I've been with them, and I've had to do no damage control yet. And I keep telling them, let me know if you need help. If somebody gets upset, I'm there to help, but haven't had to do it.
Do you miss any of like the hands-on? Because I know you're great with your hands in construction and wood and
a little bit. Yeah, I do, but I still do projects.
You were just chopping wood in your backyard.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was splitting logs all weekend, dude. I could barely walk.
So you still get your fix.
Yeah. I'm me. I'm always moving, but like, I'll find ways to keep myself busy. I do kind of like now just being able to connect people, bring the job in, and then just pass it off to my team, and they do all the heavy lifting. Like, that is honestly, it's nice. It's
and that's what they thrive in, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice that, like you said earlier, you can trust people to do their job.
Absolutely. Just yesterday I was with one of my estimators we were at Prairie State College, and they have a building that's right off the main campus that has just been vacant for years. They've just had it, and it was like a storage space. It's got mold all over the place, man. And so everything needs to be ripped up down to the studs. And I was there with the estimator while he was doing the work, and the director of facilities was there with us, and I just sat and talked with the guy for like almost an hour. Talked about who I was and what the company does and what we're looking at, but also showing them as the estimator's doing it so we could explain the process as it goes. Another thing I think for a successful salesperson is transparency. Don't bullshit people, because some people have a bullshit radar, some don't, but just stay away from it, because it's worse. It's the worst thing ever is when you get caught tripped up.
Growing up, did you feel like you can get away with bullshitting people?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah, I was always a bullshitter.
You do have a way like with of like connecting with people.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to assume, but I was like, I feel like Tom could.
I could talk my way out of just about anything.
Yeah.
I was in trouble a lot growing up. Ask Marty. But throughout time, you learn how to talk, gauge, understand people, body language, all of that.
Yeah.
I could tell within a minute how somebody's personality is and say, like, well, can I swear or not? Like, should I even try using humor in this conversation? Is this person just, straightforward shooter type of person, or is this person loosey-goosey?
And where did that come from, the ability to read
my dad.
Body language?
So my parents, they ran an insurance company for years and everything. Prior to that, they owned a preschool, and
they owned a preschool.
The Learning Circle. So yeah.
Why does that sound so familiar? Is that still around, or
they sold it. I want to say in the late 90s.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. So, but my dad, has always been, he's been in sales his whole life, and growing up watching him do it and my mom do it, it just kind of was natural at it. And for the longest time, I did it, kind of growing up. I got good at it and everything. But for the longest time through my 20s, I tried to stay away from it because I knew I was good at it. I wanted to try to get better at other
sales.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I ran my own business throughout college selling sunglasses around the US.
I didn't know this.
Oh yeah. So, so on top of the band, I would walk into bars at 18 and book us gigs and negotiate pricing and everything like that with my brother's ID. I wasn't of age, and the bars had to know I wasn't of age, but I came in respectful, and whenever we would come and play, we wouldn't get blacked out drunk. We'd be respectful. We'd come and play, and we'd leave, and we'd get money, get paid. And, you built that reputation throughout it and kind of have a sense of professionalism. But I was wrapping up at Moraine Valley, and I was only taking like one course a week. And the rest of the time I was just working out and getting hammered all week. My dad's like, you got to do something, man. Like, this isn't sustainable. Do something to like improve your life. So he's like, I know this guy I insure, and he does trade shows around the U.S. Go work with him for a few months, understand it. He's like, and then what I would suggest is buy some product off of him and then start your own little thing. I said, okay. So for about 4 months, I traveled around the U.S. I was a fucking gypsy. At the end of the day, I slept in and out of my car half the time. It was in motels, but I was making a killing, dude. I was making like $4,000 every weekend in like Boise, Idaho, or South Dakota.
Sunglasses?
Yeah. Well, at that time, I was selling cologne.
Cologne?
Yeah, but like knockoff, like funky stuff, like the Aquadesia stuff.
Like in the back trunk, like the trunk of your car?
No, like it would be like, okay, like those ads you would hear on the radio, like Sunday, leather watches, coin purses, remote control cars, cologne, perfume, sunglasses, everything must go. Yeah, it was like those type of things. You'd be in like an arena or something.
Trade shows.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'd go to those and it's set up and, sell.
Have you ever gone to like Street Market, the Maxwell Street Market back in the day?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. So those are more like farmer markets.
Right.
So what I would do is after because I got burned out from the road, man. It was like every single weekend I would leave Wednesday, I'd come back home Sunday, and I'd leave Wednesday again. I'd have like class on Monday, and then I would leave again. It was just, and I got burned out. But I was traveling. I got to see like a lot of the U.S. from doing this.
By yourself?
Yeah. I brought my buddy Sean along a few times, and he would just get stoned the whole time in the passenger seat and be asleep half the time. The main reason why I'd bring him with me is to drive, to help me drive.
Funny.
But he would be stoned half the time. But he would help me sell. And Sean's also was always a natural born seller too. But yeah, we had some goofy times. Oh my God. Him and I were just talking about when we went down to West Palm Beach. And we wound up at some strip center bar, and it was karaoke. And we were hanging out with a bunch of Hispanic people, and they were teaching me how to speak Spanish. And we were drunk, and it was karaoke. And I started just singing like all the Spanish swear words that they said, and they kicked us out of the bar because I was just swearing in Spanish on the microphone. And the guys we were hanging out with were just dying laughing. The guy was like, "Get the hell out of here." Just ridiculous. But, we ran into, in South Dakota, we were in like the Sioux City area and everything, and ran into this old Native American guy, and we ended up bar hopping with him all night. And it was in the middle of a snowstorm, so we were walking through like alleys and everything, and walked through a Hardee's drive-through with the guy. And then we were talking to him, and we turned around one second, and then he just disappeared. Like we were in like an open space, and the guy just vanished. Like, it was the weirdest thing ever. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it was just a lot of strange times, great memories. But what it did was, throughout that, I learned I met so many different people, right? Met strange people, met normal people, but socialites, like everybody, you name it, all walks of life. But what it did was, it helped me get better at gauging people, understanding people, mannerisms, things like that. So then when I came back home, I bought a bunch of sunglasses off the guy I worked for, and I went to work. So I set up a bunch of farmers markets through the week, during the week, because again, I was only going to school.
Was it easier to do back in the day? I feel like it's a little difficult to get your foot in the door at a farmer's market now.
It was. Okay. But, a lot of times they didn't even really want sunglasses because, are they artisan? Do you make them in a wood shop? And it's like, no, they're from China. Like they're there. They're from there. But I had like wholesalers all around the U.S., and I developed like a relationship with them, and I would order about every other week. And farmers market, I would use that to sell like my overstock from like festivals through the weekends. So I do local festivals around the market. And when I was in college at Columbia, like no joke, I worked just about every other weekend, every weekend doing this. Was on the road, paid rent that way, bought Nikki's engagement ring with that.
Wow.
And, it helped me, it helped me along. So, but after that, I was burned out, and I wanted to be like, I need to get like an actual job. I need to find something with benefits and a 401k. Pardon me, adult stuff. And so I ended up in the banking industry after that, and then after that wound up in property management short after. And I put
Did you finish school?
Oh yeah, I finished college.
You said marketing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I put it down for a while because I was like, you know what, I know I could do it. Let's try to get better at other parts of our life. Let's perfect the craft in other parts of our life. So,
I like how your parents were not too pushy.
No, you know what? They never really were. They would just try to guide, right?
Did they provide opportunities?
They would, yeah.
Okay.
They would try to give me opportunities to succeed, but again,
left it in your hands.
Yeah. And my dad always told me, he said it was the hardest part of being a parent is watching your kids fail, but it's the best lesson for them too, because from there you grow as a person. Can't win all the time. So, and in fact, I feel like you become a stronger and better person when you fail.
And your dad got to see you in your recent years, right? So.
Oh yeah, he passed away in 2021.
Okay.
2021, I wanted to say it was, yeah. So yeah, he got to see me be a dad.
Yeah.
He got to be with Sonny for a good period of time, and everything, and it was great. And then the hardest thing to think about is time lost. But I just think about it, the time we had. Yeah. And in dealing with grief and losing anybody, that's something to remind yourself of, because, you can think about, he doesn't get to see Vinny, but that's okay, because he got to be with Sonny, and he got to be with us, and I believe he's around still. So, yeah.
I feel like you said you felt his presence at the cabin when Nikki got pregnant.
Yeah, that fucker was at play for sure. Yeah, he's always had a sick sense of humor, man. And last summer when we were, up there drinking and everything, and yeah, Nikki and I, consummated our love and accidentally had Vinny, and weren't planning on having a second kid, and my dad passed away up in my cottage, had a heart attack while snowmobiling, and so whenever we're up there, I definitely feel his presence, but I feel him like around all the time. So that's like one of those things, man. Like I've always been a very spiritual person, but I feel like he's still around every day. Things remind me of him all the time, and I'll stop and think about conversations and things like that, and that kind of helps with moving forward without him being here physically.
Absolutely, yeah. Any advice or just her presence like that Nikki shared with you, or just like to help you move forward as well?
Yeah, dude. I tell you what, those first 2 years were hell after he passed, and getting through it. I mean, yeah, dude. Trying to just like live after someone who you had such a great relation. I know not everybody has a great relationship with their parents. I was fortunate enough to have a very loving and happy relationship with both my parents, and they also had my back all throughout my adolescence when I was just a piece of shit. I was just constantly in trouble. Nothing like hate crimes or anything like that. I was just mischievous. But getting through that, Nikki was so supportive in dealing with me when I was at my all-time low. I mean, after my dad passed, I drank nonstop, and I always drink. But it got to the point where I started realizing that I was using alcohol as like a coping mechanism because, again, you don't want to feel the pain, you don't want to deal with it. But over time, you realize, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you can only hold stuff off for so long before it comes to a head, and you eventually have to meet it. So drinking, gives you temporary happiness, but guess what? The next day, all the shit's still there on your doorstep, meeting you and waiting for you to confront it. So, learning that relationship with drinking and it not benefiting me, and I've always used it to help combat panic attacks and things like that, social anxiety, which is hilarious to think that I have social anxiety.
When I heard that, I was surprised.
Yeah, but over time, you learn how to deal with things sober, right? Which it's funny that that was always a kind of a scary thought to me, but again, the only way that I've found to stop doing something or change my life is to be on the edge of that cliff or be on rock bottom and realize, okay, things have to change, right? And that's kind of how it is. But yeah, man, Nikki was there for me. Good wife. I don't know how she deals with me half the time. I'm always on some shit, and my terrible ADD doesn't help, because I'm all over the place all the time, and she cleans up after me. And I'll be like in the middle of doing something, and I'll just leave the room because like I needed something, and then I'll go to the next room, and then I'm like, oh, what's in here? And then I start moving stuff in the next room. Like, it's bad sometimes. So but she was there for me, man, and I as I mentioned before too, I am lucky to have the circle, the friends, the family around that I have, because not everybody's as fortunate to have that. I'm lucky to have the people to lift you up when you're down, and I try to make sure I move forward in life doing that for others, because that's how my dad was though too, always helping. And he also taught me something too a long time ago, because I would always get frustrated when other people weren't doing as much as him or I, like whether it be like me and my friends group, I'm always doing this and they're never doing that, or like my brother and I would be doing something, we'd be working and he would just be sitting there doing jack shit while I'm digging a hole. My dad always told me, never keep count or never keep track of what you and another person are doing, because no matter what, either them or you, it's always going to seem outnumbered. Never keep track. Just focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about anybody else. So with that, though, I found to be helpful and just try to always be there for people. And even like I have some friends that have been going through, anxiety, depression, and everything like that. And being there to support them has been super helpful. Being there to explain to them, hey, listen, you're not the only person that goes through this, and it's not such a, mysterious
heavy, weighty,
thought. Yeah, it's not, it's normal to feel those feelings. And that has been beneficial to me, like convincing friends to go to therapy, to talk to somebody, because, for me, having somebody not involved in my life, a third party who has no benefit, good or bad, in my life, just to listen to me vent for an hour every week was super helpful.
And they're not trying to provide solutions either, right? They're
Not
trying
really.
to maybe like help, like there's no agenda. Like if you arrive at a particular solution, like you've arrived on your own.
Yeah. A lot of the time, yeah. The one thing I would ask from my, what my therapist was is, what are some coping mechanisms to deal with panic attacks? Like, what are some things to kind of meet it at a pass? And those were the things I wanted to learn more about, because every situation you're in is different, and how do you handle them? And, those are the major things. But the rest of the time, it was me talking through stuff, them listening, them making some comments. But no joke, at the end of the day, it's almost like I don't want to say you're talking to yourself, but you're talking yourself through things.
Yeah.
And even that reflective period of time is extremely helpful.
If you were to just talk to yourself, I don't know if you would have the objectivity to point certain things out as a
Agreed.
therapist would, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, and convincing my friends to do that, I just had a friend recently who I could visually see that, when we were together, that he was going through it, I could see that. But he was one of those guys that doesn't outwardly show it. A very, loving and generous guy. And I finally was just, I would bring up, I had a panic attack, I would just bring it up and I would just tell him about it. And then he would listen, and over the weeks I could tell that it was because I would just bring it up constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I would talk about me, not about him, not seeing that he was going through it.
By example.
Yeah. And eventually he wanted to open up and talk about it. And we got through it. We started talking. And, I talked about some of the benefits I felt from therapy, and just to give it a shot. And I always tell people therapy is meant to be temporary. You don't always have to do it. You could pick it up and set it down. For me, I did it off and on for the past 3 years. I do it half the year, and then I stopped back.
Are these in person? Because I know they do online now.
I do. I've mainly done online just because my schedule is so hectic. But I tell you, I've been a big advocate for it, and I'm not even afraid to talk about it. I tell people all the time, yeah, I go to therapy. I think it's super helpful, but I haven't been since, I want to say it was end of April, beginning of May. It just, it got to the point where the conversations, things were good. I haven't really had any panic attacks in the past few months, at least. I could count on maybe one hand in the past few months that I've had them, where I was averaging anywhere from 1 to 3 a day, almost every day of the week.
It's probably not due to just one thing. I know your life is overall in a better place.
Yeah.
But were there some coping mechanisms that you've been practicing?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, aside from there are coping mechanisms, sir. I know when I'm getting anxious.
When you're ramping up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the best way I could describe it, or was taught to me, was think of yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, and the dotted line is a 7. That is the
threshold.
The threshold of your panic attack. 1 to 3 is comfortable. But then 4 to 7 is ramp up time. Okay, 4, I'm starting to get a little anxious, right? And then 5, okay, something's happening. 6 is okay, yeah, I'm about to have a panic attack.
Sure.
And then anything over 7 is just and I was averaging, when I first started in therapy, I was averaging over the 7 threshold all daily. It was awful. Wow. It was awful. And, dealing with that, and on top of being a parent, on top of, working, on top of taking care of a house and a family, it was a lot. But, finding those mechanisms. So sometimes you meet it with the breathing exercises, the 4-6-3 method is where you breathe in for 4, hold for 6, exhale for 3,
nice.
Or
box breathing.
Yeah. So the numbers are different, but you could do that way. Another way is to,
and that's in the ramp up phase.
Even during, I find that helps too. I just watched another method. It helps if you're by yourself, but you follow your fingers, and what it does is it allows you. It pretty much takes your mind off of what
singular focus.
Yeah, exactly. There are immersion techniques where hop in a shower, do it, or sometimes I'll have a panic attack because of the situation I'm in, and it's the fight or flight feeling, right?
Yeah.
So what do? Do I leave the room, catch breath, or do I just battle through it and meet it at a head? There's so many different ways to get through it, and over time I found what works for me. It's funny, you'll never see me go anywhere without water. because if I get cotton mouth, start getting anxious because one of my things when I would be anxious is I feel like I couldn't swallow. I feel like I couldn't breathe. So I always have water on me.
Oh.
Always keep gum in the pocket. Those sort of things. And that helps. That definitely helps. But also on top, the other thing too was like last summer I tried medication for like maybe a month, and it was not for me, man.
Huh.
I did not like the way I felt from it. It scared the shit out of me actually, and got to
How did you feel?
manic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't that the
Yeah.
opposite of what?
So it turns out, your body, everybody's body's different, and sometimes these psychologists, the people that they prescribe to you, they just pick a name out of the hat. Let's pick a long name out of the hat and give this guy a pill, see if it works. Yeah, so we're supposed to be a guinea pig. Our body's supposed to be a guinea pig to try these SSIRs for these people, and that's not right. So first one I tried, I was on a steady 6 for a week and a half, meaning like I wasn't calm. I wasn't having a full panic
With
attack.
the medication.
Yeah, and I wasn't sleeping at all, and it was getting to the point where I was kind of going crazy, and took myself off it. And sure enough, she was like, "Well, let's put you on this then." I said, "No, we're gonna do. I'm doing a genome test. I want to know. I want to see what medications work for me and what don't, because I'm not being a fucking guinea pig. I'm not doing that. Like, I literally almost just went insane there. And that was like that was a few weeks before I met with you. Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was going through all that, and sure enough, she gave me the list. I got the list back, and just to find out that pill, that one that she gave was, there's a green, a yellow, and a red, and it was in the red all the way to the fucking right. So I was like, great. So good job. I'm not working with you anymore, and I'm not taking any medication. I'm just going to get through this myself. Like, I'll learn to deal with it. I've been fighting it for the past 3 years. I'll just keep fighting it by myself.
Were there other medications that were in the green when you saw that list?
There were. But like, and of course what I would do is I would read up on each one of them, read the side effects, the benefits, the negatives, and too many of them, I felt like the negatives outweighed the positives.
Oh.
So that led me to researching microdosing mushrooms
Oh.
to combat, the anxiety and the depression. And, I was skeptical at first because I've read, there's been some studies where people have gone full schizophrenic from taking it.
From microdosing?
Well, here's the caveat. When people were doing it, they weren't microdosing properly, right? They were taking like a gram at a time every other day. So like that, you're tripping at that point, and
Yeah.
that's not right. No, I'm taking like 0.03 in a little pill capsule every other day. And what it does is it just resets your neurons and your brain paths in your mind to reprogram them, to reheal them. Because every time, just out of pattern, over our years, if we start, say like you're laying in bed and you're spiraling, as I like to call it. Sometimes at night I lay in bed, the wheels don't stop turning. I start thinking about work. And then I start thinking about, well, what if this goes wrong? And then that's your pathway, right?
Yeah.
So what if this goes wrong? What happens? And then you start going down this wormhole.
Yeah.
And then what it does is, at least from some of the research I've done, is it pretty much blocks those pathways and reconnects you to proper, rationality, right? Like,
Right.
pushing you through it. And I tell you what, man, I started microdosing last August, right before Nikki, Sonny, and I went on a trip to Florida. And because I have a fear of flying, it developed over the past, 6 years. I don't know. It's hilarious. I'm a fucking mess. But no, no joke. I started doing it then because I was like, I got to get through this,
Who are you getting this from? In little
Oh,
capsules?
no. So I would get the mushrooms myself.
Oh, you make your own.
Yeah, and grind them up in a coffee grinder, weigh them out, and then do it that way. So, yeah. So then I would weigh them out, put them in the pill capsule, and take it that way.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
So
a lot of effort, but it's worth it, it seems like.
it is. So I'll walk you through it too, because starting in August, I started him August 1st. We went on vacation midway through August. It was my second weekend, and I already started feeling the difference from it. And could have been a placebo effect, but I definitely felt my brain doing something different. And what I mean by that is, yeah, I was a little anxious when we got on the plane when getting to Florida. But once we got on and we were going, I was fine. Once we got there, I was still going through the aftermath of quitting that job and, going through, taking, medications that almost made me go insane, things like that. But like, I literally felt like as I was trying to think about all those negative things that I went through, like a storm came over, grabbed those thoughts, pulled away, and then there was a sunny day. Like, it was the weirdest. That's the best way I could visually describe it. I remember I was driving in the car in Florida with Nikki, and I was just trailing off and thought, because that was the thing, I would just spiral, right? And I would be trailing off in thought, and I would literally, like, I would just run into a wall, and like my brain would be like, no, go backwards. Go think about how much fun you just had at the pool, you idiot, And no joke, like, it progressed like that. And then from August, so I did from August to December of the microdosing. And from August to December, I went from having them every day to maybe like once a week. Then from once a week to once every other week. Came December, I wasn't having them at all. So I stopped microdosing because I wanted to get through the tough month of December. Christmas was always like a big holiday for my family growing up. It was my dad's favorite holiday. We do the 7 fish dinner, Catholic, meal. And it was just a big family thing. And the past few years, every Christmas, I just blacked out because I couldn't deal with it. It was just a miserable time getting through it. But I told myself I'm going to stop microdosing and I'm not going to drink at all. And I want to get through this and feel the feelings and just work through them. And I was so happy that I did it. It was tough. It sucked, but to be able to come out on the other side was like relieving.
That's very powerful in the sense of like you didn't want to use microdosing as a crutch any longer.
I wanted to go in it clean.
Yeah.
To see if it actually helped.
Yeah.
While not being on it.
Right.
And I think it did. And then I stayed. I didn't microdose until I started back up in April. And everything because I wanted to see how I do without it. And it was super helpful when I was on it, and then afterwards, like, I felt fine. I definitely feel great, but I jumped back on it just because I kind of started feeling not depressed, but like I started getting anxious because a lot's going on again. Sonny's going to school. Got the new baby, juggling dropping the kids, picking them up every day. Helping out around the house. Nikki's going. We're just trying to tag team it, right? We're trying to survive. So I was like, you know what, let's try it again and see if it helps. And to be honest with you, man, like, it has helped bar none compared to anything else. Like, it is amazing. So I can't preach enough about it, but again, like, it's not like what works for me is not going to work for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a panacea. Like, it's what type of headspace? I mean, I know it's therapeutic, but like, I guess, is there any way? What are the downsides? Like, in the sense of like, what could go wrong?
Yeah,
with microdosing.
So I think some people, if you have schizophrenic tendency or manic depression tendencies, it could amplify them. So if you're kind of like already kind of deep down the rabbit hole, they recommend to probably stay away from it, or you need to really watch how you're dosing it. Then also, if you're on other medications, from what I've read, that it doesn't really interact with it, but still, like, you're rewiring off of something that's from the earth, right?
Yeah.
Versus something that's chemical based, so it has to do something. So my thought would be is I wouldn't interact with the two. The other, I guess, downsides could be is people not weighing it out properly. My brother told me, I'll never forget it, when I told him I was going to start microdosing. He goes, oh man, I had some guy I worked with, prestigious lawyer, guy was like amazing, and then over the pandemic he went off the deep end, and then he came back and he was kind of kooky, and then he started microdosing, but then he kind of went insane. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, he was an alcoholic first off. Guy had like a drug addiction. I'm like, and then he's like, then he started microdosing. I'm like, yeah, but like, was he actually microdosing? He's like, well, he's like, no, he kind of told me like he would eat like a handful at a time. I said, no, that's macro dosing, dude. That's something you do like when you're on vacation once a year or something like that. Like, to just,
the heroic dose.
Yeah, the heroic dose in the words of Marty. But no joke. I was like, yeah, that's not microdosing, man. That's counterproductive. Like, when I take it, I don't feel anything. Like, if I almost take too much, like if the capsule is a little too filled, you could kind of feel like the hair stand stand up on your arms a
Sure.
little bit.
Sure.
But other than that, you're really not supposed to feel anything.
No
you know?
body high or anything. Okay.
But when I first started taking it, I will tell you this, I'll never forget it. Like, I took it, I call them mushroom days. I'm on my mushroom day, and was golfing with a client, and it was just a little too much where things were kind of a little bit more vibrant. And I could feel like the hair's kind of tingling on my arms, but like the trees were like the world was just a beautiful place. And that was like it was like, wow, this is awesome. But then I forgot how to golf. Like last year, I don't know what happened. I felt like my brain was
semi-functional.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that though, you're not really supposed to feel anything. I'm full functioning on it. Like, it's and today's mushroom day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, like today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I microdosed this morning and everything.
Do you remember like the very first time you did shrooms?
Man. Yeah, I do. It's one of my favorite experiences. I smoked weed all throughout high school. And I also wonder, though, because I'm a big advocate for marijuana, but I read some research that too much smoking of marijuana in your adolescence can lead to adult anxiety and, and other complications. But that's for another conversation. Anyways, mushrooms, first time. It was me, my buddy Sean, and Mike. And we were heading up to the cottage. And it was the middle of winter. And so I took maybe, I don't know, like 1.5 grams, or I think I took 2 grams and Sean took 3.5 because Sean's 6'4" and 250. So he's a bigger boy. And Mike's driving at the time because at that time Mike didn't, touch anything. Mike was a very clean, good boy. And so he was in this science experience. Mike was the constant and Sean and I were the variables. And, so I'm like, Mike, you got to drive up. I started driving up, and then we got to Indiana because it was starting to snow, like a bad snowstorm. So we stopped at Long John Silver's. I've never eaten in a Long John Silver's in my life, and we're in the in the Long John Silver's, and I shit you not, I'm ordering, and all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Can I have some of your hush puppies?" And the woman's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, yeah, I'm great. So we had a nice fish dinner and hit the road. And Sean's pissed. He's like, "God damn it, I don't feel anything." Tom's over here high as a kite. And I'm like, "Man, this is amazing." And then we're driving up, and we were in and out of these snowstorms, constantly on the way up.
Oh, wow.
And I was sitting in the back seat because Sean, like I said, is so tall, and I had a car, and he refused to sit in back seat because it hurt his knees.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, he's a goofball. But anyways, we're driving, and I just kept leaning forward, and like just in line with Sean and Mike by the car seat. I'm like in a movie right now. It's like Star Wars, like the snow hitting the windshield.
Yeah.
And then Mike goes, and he turns to me and goes, "What if I told you it wasn't snowing at all?" And I'm like, "Don't say that." He's like, "I'm kidding." So we get up to the cottage, dude, and I know, no joke, the snow was past our knees.
Wow.
And I remember stepping in the snow, and I felt like I was on top of it. And then it was like like I said, it was like a magical experience.
And was this marijuana or magic mushrooms?
Mushrooms.
Okay.
Yeah, mushrooms. Oh no, my first time smoking weed was at the playground by the house I grew up in. It was like the jankiest weed ever, and we smoked it out of a Pepsi can and everything.
So and prior to taking it, did you have preconceived notions about it or about shrooms? Psilocybin?
Not really. I just knew to be in a good headspace before doing it and going to a controlled environment, right?
Okay.
And those were kind of the big things for me. So that's why I said, let's go to the cottage. Familiar space. Nobody else is up there. So you kind of just deal
familiar
with
people.
Yeah, exactly. And Mike was sober. So, it was controlled and, he was the control.
Yeah.
But I tell you, man, that was like a goofy 4 hours. And then I was like, I'm tired of being high. Apparently I read that if you start drinking alcohol, it cuts it out, and then you're not high anymore. And no joke, it actually did. Uh-huh. So then we sat in the kitchen because the rest of the house was too scary. So we sat in our kitchen. That was like the size of this area on the floor. Or no, we just pulled up chairs next to the sink, next to the cabinets, and the table was over here. Okay. We just sat there in a circle, and we drank till 4 a.m.
That's amazing.
It was goofy. Great good time. And the second time I did it, I was traveling sales, and I was in Wyoming. Casper, Wyoming, and it was like a fear and loathing.
This is Cologne days? Or?
Yeah, Cologne days. And then I hadn't touched it after that until I started microdosing last year.
You didn't feel a need to?
No. Because, I mean, like, I've never tried LSD just for the fear of losing my mind because, and also, like, I'm crazy enough as is. I don't need to potentially get crazier. And also I have that sense of control. I don't want to lose complete control, so.
Maybe that's the thing, right?
Yeah. I guess,
just like relinquishing, like letting go.
Yeah, as they have some people said, you feel reborn, right?
Like a hard reset.
How about you? You've ever?
Never felt the effects, but thinking back, I think I was drinking while I was shrooming, so I know we never felt anything more than a body high.
So you're like Barack Obama. I smoked marijuana, but I didn't inhale. Or is that Bill Clinton?
I don't know. Probably Bill Clinton.
Yeah. Anyways, no. Okay, so you didn't really feel anything from it.
No, unfortunately. No. We've recently gotten like those like chocolate bars, like the edible psilocybin, and like I've never done anything more than like a few hexes, which is equivalent to just slightly above microdosing.
Gotcha.
But
take a chunk out of it. Just take a bite out of it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, one of these days.
Yeah, maybe after the wedding.
Same with LSD. It's just like I feel like I have to set aside a whole day, especially for LSD. And I just don't have the time these days.
I couldn't agree more. That's the thing. It's like I really have to dedicate. Like, I got to carve it out of my schedule. Like, how does October 15th look?
Yeah, like a staycation in a way. And like,
exactly.
I'm definitely in the right headspace to take it, I think, as far as, like, not feeling the need to take it and being open-minded to anything that comes from it.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there. It's just like, it's just making the time.
My brother Jimmy, who's a firefighter, one of his old partners back when he was in Chicago, he'd been microdosing LSD for almost a year because they had seen some really bad fires and seen kids burned up and some traumatic stuff, and he started microdosing LSD, and my brother told me, he's like, Tom, you should have seen the difference from him from when he started, like trembling, kind of just like very, like his life was veering in the wrong direction.
Was he still on the department?
Yeah. And so he had to do it quietly, obviously. But
well, I Chief Kenny, she's retired now, but she was Jimmy's chief at the time, and like another firefighter wanted to quietly admit himself to AA, and she found out, but she was like, he was scared for his job, and she was so graceful about it.
Yeah, I've heard good things about her, man.
She was like, your job will be here. Just take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's life's crazy, dude. And it's kind of, as I mentioned, like, after 30, I feel like it kind of becomes more real in good and bad ways. I always mention this to you, like things people don't tell you about after, like things I would like to know after you turn 30. I just feel like I wasn't prepared for a lot of stuff.
All that being said is like, has it been like, for me, I feel like it gets better every decade.
I do too. I think that the 30s are, because you're more of an adult, right? Like your 20s you're just like you're a grown child.
At what point did you feel like you came into yourself?
I don't know, man. I don't really think
where you're no longer swayed by like what people think about you and like you are you.
I think it's after Dad passed, I think that was like a harsh reality, right? So like feeling like so like how when you're in your 20s and even like your teens, your 20s and leading into your 30s, you feel invincible. Like nothing's gonna fuck you up. You could just keep driving forward. You could, if you need to change course, whatever, no big deal. And I felt like I was still in this bubble of like perfect little Pleasantville life, and then Dad just abruptly passes. He was there 1 minute, literally hanging out with him on a Sunday, and then Sunday night, I'm driving back up to the cottage to go see him in the morgue. Like, that's a harsh
reality. If you're willing to share, what have the conversations between you and your therapist been like, or just with you and yourself, if you were there?
Oh, like if that would have happened?
If you were snowmobiling with him.
We actually never really talked about it, but my mom was there with him, and, she's gotten better, but the trauma from it, man, had to be unreal, And I'm just thankful that I got to spend his last day on Earth with him. I was there literally with him up until like an hour before he passed. And the last words we said to each other was, "I love you." Super cool. Yeah. Don't want to cry again. Yeah, man, like after that though, it was like a wake up call, right?
Sure.
I almost felt like in a video game, when you unlock a new like level
Sure.
as a character, I felt like empathy and sympathy and humbleness.
On another level,
Yeah, like I finally understood after he passed.
more than any psychedelic or marijuana has ever done.
It was like the most realistic feeling I could ever explain. The heartache. Yeah.
And have the effects stayed with you till now? Because sometimes it's temporary.
No, it definitely has. I think it helped me become a better person. And it's funny because like growing up and everything, he would just remind me. He's like, try to be humble. He's like, be modest, would you? He's like, because after I would finish something, I'm like, do you see how cool that was? He goes, I did. You don't have to tell me. Like, be modest, would you? But like, I would watch how he was always empathetic throughout life and very helpful to people, and good listener. I would always talk and not listen. And before the end of this podcast, I'm making you talk more. So, but no joke. Like after he passed, like I felt like I was able to understand people who, in their 20s, lost their parents, and I never really got it. I've had a handful of friends that have lost their parents or loved ones, prior to me losing my dad, and I never really got it because like I just lost my grandparents like when I was in high school and you were still growing up, but after that I was able to understand and listen more and also give advice and let them know that they're not alone and the feelings that they're feeling is okay. And the one takeaway I remember one of my therapists said is grief. There is no rule book to grief. Well, how you deal with it is how you deal with it. Just at some point, you just have to come back. And the one thing I've always felt, which is something that I've kind of always told myself, is it's okay to lose yourself. It's okay to lose your mind, but make sure you come back to yourself and carry on. So sometimes it's okay to step away and get a little kooky, but come back.
Yeah.
So, coming into your 30s, though, like I've at least me, that was a wake-up call. And then from there, I also felt like people never told me that, like, hangovers are like a 2-day adventure now.
Bedridden.
Yeah, bedridden. The juice isn't really worth the squeeze, as I'm finding, especially since, like, Vinny wakes up at like 4 a.m. and Sonny wakes up at 6:30, 7 o'clock every day, no matter when he goes to bed, because he's ready to rock and roll. And he's like, come on, Dad, let's go. And I'm like, come on, dude. So, there's that. And then
How was Ren Fair?
What?
How was Ren Fair? The Renaissance
Dude,
Fair. You look
huzzah, huzzah, man, dude. I've been going there almost every single year since I've known Nikki. We go every year for her dad's birthday.
Oh, okay.
I think we just haven't gone. We haven't gone the last 2-3 years, but man. And every year now, moving forward, I'm just going to add to my outfit. Because for the longest time, I'm like, these freaking nerds dressed up. And now I'm like, I want to dress up. I got my wooden mug last time we were there, my $75 homemade wooden mug. And I brought it with me this time and, filled up the beer and you walk around and you people watch. And it's a good time, man. Have you ever been?
I've never been.
Oh, buddy.
Okay. Well, I'll make it a point to go.
Hear me out. You should take mushrooms and go to the Renaissance Fair. So I've heard from Nikki's dad what he always told me. He said back in the day, so the place had been open since like the late 70s. It used to be a rip-roaring, wild place. Like after sundown on Saturdays, like over the weekend, they would just people would just get hammered and it would just be like this big old party. He said also back, like people would come dressed up. Some people would walk around like the town nudes.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think you get away with that now because there's a lot of kids that come. But it's the 1500s, medieval times, huzzah. So, I want to go on a Saturday, leave the kids at home, and they do a bar crawl because there's a bunch of bars throughout it and it's like rated R. So like the people that walk with you, they just say like inappropriate shit the whole time and you just get kind of tanked and walk through the entire park. But yeah.
So do you make a weekend out of it? Like you stay up there?
No.
How do you drive back?
Oh, it's rough. It was rough Saturday. Nikki drove. No, actually, I stopped drinking. I only had 3 beers when we were there. I stopped drinking because I'm trying to adult. I'm trying not. I wanted to cut loose though. I was about to be like, you want to drive home so I could have like 4 more, but no, you know what? I did the right thing and I didn't overindulge. But it's so hard not to. But it takes like an hour and 15 to get up there, man.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So
we have Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have in-law or Justine's brothers in Wauwatosa by Milwaukee.
Oh, cool. Yeah, man. It's you got to check it out.
Okay.
Go at least once.
I will.
Yeah. Go on like a Saturday and just get a little greased up, But yeah, no, that's super cool. How do we get there? How do we talk
I
about
don't
that?
know, but like what you said you had a few wedding grilled questions. Like,
Oh,
what do you,
yeah.
what do you
Oh, I
want
had-
to what do you want to grill me with?
Yeah, okay. So, number one, how did you and Justine meet?
Oh, well, we have a whole episode on that.
Okay.
So we met on Hinge, though.
Okay.
So we
That's
met
right.
online.
That's right.
And for me at least, the picture that stuck out was her at work. She's in scrubs and like a OR. It's called a bouffant. It just like it's like a hairnet.
Yeah.
And from the perspective, like she's in a hallway and you see the skyline in the background and you can tell what hospital she's at. She was at Rush. I don't know. I tried dating non-healthcare people and like it was okay for a minute, but like I feel like I gravitate more towards healthcare people. And that's what attracted me to the first place. But our first date in the pandemic was picking up a pizza pie from Professor Pizza and having it in like what seemed like an alley right outside Wrigley. So you can hear like the ball game. I don't know how there was a ball game, but I remember hearing a ball game in the pandemic. And you're on grass, but you see people pulling into their garage and stuff like that. And there's like street lamps. But she came straight from work, and I brought the beer and the pizza, and we just had pizza in the park.
So what is something? Well, since you did a whole podcast on how you guys met,
You can ask, for yourself, because you will be.
Yeah.
It just means so much more when people that help curate our wedding know us that well. You know?
Oh, I agree. Also makes it more nerve wracking for me. So thanks. Dude, I mean,
yeah.
doing
People
wedding,
ask me like, what? Who do you hire for your photographer? Since I'm a photographer, and it's just like I get it, but like, yeah, I did hire someone I didn't know prior to it, and but I've shot family friends' weddings, and I guess the pressure's there, but I don't know, when you come from the perspective of like this is like your way of gifting your service to them, and so it still means a lot.
Yeah, I'm really excited, man. I've been so I'm actually playing the bass guitar this time around. Kevin, who played the drums on my album, he's sitting in for us on the kit because both my shoulders are shot. I can't play the drums for 3 hours anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just it's killing me. So I'm like, you know what? I'll pick up the bass, and Zach and Matt are playing guitar and singing and stuff. So I'm actually really looking forward to that because I get to. Bass is one of my low-key like favorite instruments.
Oh, dope. Okay.
So yeah, I'm like super pumped about it. But I think the set list is gonna be a lot of fun. Just a couple of slow songs. We try not to do too many because it seems like when you're playing live band, nobody wants to hear.
I'm sure you have a good ability of like reading the room.
Yeah, dude. So we did a wedding last May, and we recorded it, and it was like the fourth song in, and it's "Daughters" by John Mayer, and it's a beautiful song, and. No joke. I'm like, all right, we're gonna slow down for a minute here, and you hear everybody back. No, fuck that! Like it was like a South Side Irish wedding, and they're like, none of that shit. Like, okay, sorry. So I'm like, all right, never mind. Here we go. We're doing something else, And then finally we played it like back half of the night when people were hammered and like, all right, get all the lovers out here, that sort of thing. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. Hopefully people like us.
Yeah.
It's funny. For as long as I've been playing, the self-doubt is still right there in front of my face, no matter what. Dude.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same with this EMT class. I'm no longer on an ambulance.
Yeah.
Right. Or anytime these cameras overheat, like I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, I fucking up this far into I'm like almost 100 episodes deep, and it's like shit's going on still. So
It's always something, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like even our wireless mic at the last wedding, it was cutting in and out, but it's because we were outside in this massive tent. Whereas like I'm like, well, now do I buy a second one just in case now for your wedding so we don't have any issue?
Sure.
But where's the table going to be in relation to the band? Can I have the person just come stand in front of the band and talk? And like all this stuff runs through my head.
Yeah.
That
means you care.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, with Justine then.
Yeah.
What are some things that you're looking forward to as far as becoming a married couple?
Besides like
The tax benefits.
Insurance.
Yeah.
I don't have insurance right now. We picked up our wedding bands, and I wore it for the rest of the day. And the next couple days, we went to City Hall to pick up our marriage certificate. And I didn't wear the band to the City Hall because I was like, we're not married yet, actually, and like it's just one more thing to look forward to on wedding day.
Yeah, hold off. Yeah, absolutely.
So as much as like now I feel naked without it. Well, I'm not married yet, so I guess it's just another thing. And there was a time, even when we started dating, when I still like didn't feel like being married would do anything for me. We live together already. We share everything from I'm super transparent about finances and goals and things like that, and we're on the same page with that stuff. So I don't know what else would have changed besides the tax benefits and the insurance. But after the wedding shower and seeing like some of our family come together and things like that, I think that's also what I'm looking forward to, is just
the unity.
Both families becoming more comfortable with each other over time, and just becoming one, I guess.
Are you guys the same nationality?
She's Filipino, I'm Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought she was Filipino
Chinese,
by her last name.
Gotenko.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to have like people from like Mississippi, New Orleans coming up, so like some southern folk. I have people from family from all over the world coming, like UK. There was going to be like I have cousins from Ireland.
Really?
With an Irish accent, but they're not unfortunately coming in. So we did a no kids wedding, and
cool. Good.
For some it's like it's gonna be it would have been too hard to like find childcare. So, and I know couples that have like had childcare at the reception for, but it's just like we didn't want to do that. So.
I was at a wedding a couple months ago or last month, and they allowed kids to come, and you just look at how miserable the parents are when they have like the little kids, like the 3-year-olds running around, and then you can't really enjoy it. Like it's meant to be like a celebratory kind of let yourself loose a little time, time, but also, formal. I think, so if I could give any advice, and I tell everybody this when I'm doing their wedding or even friends who are about to get married, at one point in the night, you and her, whether you're sitting at the head table or you're somewhere in the room, just stop and look at everybody in the room around there and think to yourself, all those people are here today to celebrate both of you and the fact that you guys are in love and in bonding and connecting your lives together in the form of marriage. And that is such a like loving feeling. I remember at my wedding, we had a blowout. It was over like 315 people at our wedding. Yeah, it was good. The Polish people, they like to let it go big. So, but at some point in the night, Nikki and I were sitting there at the table, and we were just watching everybody. And it was actually really enjoyable to just watch people interact that didn't know each other, but we knew. Yeah. It's just it's a beautiful.
The Venn diagram.
Yeah. It's great, man.
And what's tough is because we're gonna try to do a table dash, but like
I saw that in the schedule.
Yeah, what's tough is not just our wedding, just weddings in general. It's just like depending on how many speeches are planned, as soon as food is nailed down on your table, it's like if you do have something like a table dash, now you're busy running around to every table, getting photos with everyone. You might not have the time, right? But I understand like the intention, and the intention is there. And we'll take several moments throughout the day, whether it's at the beginning or the end of the ceremony, looking out. We're going to try to do like a selfie with the officiant with like everyone in the background.
That'd be cool.
Or at the head table during dinner or wherever. I think Justine and I are at that point where it's like we understand where it's very rare to have that many people come for you, whether it's for a funeral or a wedding, and thankfully it's for a wedding.
Yeah.
And I don't think we lose sight of that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. It's gonna be a great time. How many people?
Just over 200, like maybe 205.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's a good number, man. It's gonna be exciting, and also the venue is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we're walking through next week.
Oh yeah, can't wait.
Yeah,
man, I think about it, you and I got to see a lot of each other, and also I'm thinking after the wedding, we could talk afterwards, but sure. I need you to do family photos again.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We'll do it. Are you guys going on a honeymoon? What's going on?
No, if we were to do a honeymoon, it'd be next August.
Okay. Cool.
Child care for the dogs, dog care, I guess. And one of them's reactive, so I'd rather have someone house sit. So it's just lining up our schedules with that.
So do you mind me asking if you guys are wanting children or not?
Yeah, we do. So Justine, it's out there. Justine's a little older than me. So being understanding of the woman's body,
of course.
We probably want to start trying immediately after.
Exciting.
Soon after. I'm sure, I think there's a part of her and part of me too that like probably wants to think of things that would be easier to do without kids prior to having kids, but otherwise we're ready.
That's exciting, man. Yeah. I never knew if I really wanted to have kids or not. Nikki and I, we were both on the fence. Like, I sort of liked kids. Kids always liked me because I'm a grown child, and also like, again, to go back, like in your 20s, I was very selfish growing up. Me, and I knew once I'd have a child, I wouldn't be selfish anymore. I knew once I had a child, it wouldn't be about me anymore. Their life is the most important thing. And it was one of those things that scared me because I'm like, so am I going to lose who I am? Am I going to lose my identity? And that's what I was really worried about, and that's why I was never really ready. But I'm like, well, you're not going to know until you find out, and you'd be I would regret it if I didn't have a kid. So, I just kind of went for it and, held the faith and said, just go for it, And those boys, man, I tell you, they are the best. Sonny is driving us nuts lately. He's got a little attitude.
Oh.
He's extremely intelligent, which is scary. Like he questions everything. His vocabulary is like, it says a lot of $5 words, He used the word allocation the other day. I'm like, what are you going? Are you getting your MBA? Like, what the heck's going on, kid? He says the word exhausted. I'm exhausted, Dad. But he's hilarious, man. And like all those things I was really worried about, and I still am. Having kids cuts into the idea of wanting to, being able to go out and make music. That sense of freedom. But like right now, I was so entrenched in surviving after having a second one because it was really, I'm not going to lie to you, it was scary for us. Having number two was, it was a wake-up call.
Sure.
Yeah. But now that we're through it, I could, I'm like, whew, okay, I could breathe. We got the pattern down. He's sleeping through the night most of the time. But I'm happy I did it. The idea though is make sure you set time aside for yourself. And then, obviously for the kids, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people.
Yeah.
It's something I say all the time. So you have to still be a little bit selfish, And I tell you what, though, it gets harder and harder to leave them, though. When Sonny was first born, I was like, shit, I still go. It was right before the pandemic. And I was on the go all the time. I was still playing constantly. And then the pandemic hit. And then I felt like it just stopped me in my tracks, Yeah. You learn how to slow down. I learned how to slow down, and it was crazy. And now,
crazy in a good way.
Yeah, but also it totally like afterwards kind of ruined my my drive a little bit
To play or to do anything.
Just to my drive in general. I felt like I've always like wanted to excel in my career. When I was a property manager, I wanted to be like a young CEO. Like that's what I envisioned, but as time kind of progressed and then the pandemic happened and we had this life-threatening thing in front of us. And then, even after Dad died, it was one of those realizations, like, at the end of the day, people are going to be like, wow, Tom was one of the best restoration guys in the industry. Or, man, one heck of a property manager. People are going to remember you by, wow, Tom was a good person. Tom helped his friends. Tom was there for people when he needed them. Or Tom was funny as shit. They're going to remember that. They're not going to remember what you did for a career. So I find it's more important to work on yourself and your betterment of life. And then when you better yourself, your personal self, then everything else just falls back into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap your head around that because you grow up with models and what they do, whether it's like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Steve Jobs. It's just you I think strive for that, but we're talking like 0.5 to 1% of the population being that.
Yeah, I feel like I know I did. For the longest time, I always found like, what is my purpose for being here on Earth? Why am I here?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be doing? That's always the question I ask myself. What am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I on my right path? That's called existential dread, existential dread. And I've been trying to let myself go with that because try not to think too far in advance and try not to worry about the what ifs. Just worry about what's going on right now, And that's even with like being a parent, man, it's scary. We're wondering if we're doing the right thing all the time. Like there's really no rule book other than just don't drop them, don't let them choke on food, and make sure they sleep okay, and also make sure they don't swear in public. Unlike Sonny, he gets in trouble at school all the time for using swear words, but in the right context. So I tell him like he's saying in the right context. You can't be mad at him as long as he doesn't tell you to fuck off like his old man did to his ex-boss. Man, I tell you though, that was like one of the most liberating feelings ever.
I'm sure. I wonder how many people were thinking it.
Oh, everybody else did, and it was great. That was the best part. Like the look on everybody else's face was like, "Oh my god, yes, yeah." Oh man, that was such a good feeling. And I just, yeah, it's funny like how still pissed off I am about it. I mean, I feel better now that the company sold because like.
That's so wild.
But anyways, yeah, I don't know, man. Life is a beautiful mess. At the end of the day, I think it's a beautiful mess, and it's worth living though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, Tom, anything else? We're at an hour and a half.
All right, before we go, got quick questions for you. Number one, what is your favorite birthday memory?
Birthday memory. Well, recently, every birthday, like Justine's birthday or my birthday, we would just try to like get together with some friends. It's probably usually some type of dinner, and that's it. It's just like spending time, quality time with close people around you.
You didn't have like a childhood memory that was like super exciting?
Oh, a childhood memory?
Yeah, anything. I mean, I my favorite birthday memory was actually when I was an adult too. But you know, geez, I'm stuttering. We sit around my campfire at the house.
Yeah.
You know, in the evenings, and when we're there, we're just kind of sit and drink, and we always ask each other questions like, you know, what was your favorite birthday memory, or what was your favorite Christmas growing up, or you ask these questions because what it does, I think, is a good exercise to do even with friends. It unlocks those memories and those positive memories, and it gives you just a better outlook in life in general. So I'm all about like rewiring that brain, right?
Yeah.
You know, so like thinking of those positive memories.
So, I mean, growing up, I probably got like 2 big birthday parties, and I guess it doesn't have to be big either. But we didn't really celebrate like some more of my friends or how Justine's family would do. Like if you saw pictures from the wedding shower, there were about like 60 people there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually like maybe subtract maybe 20. And that's an average like regular hang sesh for her family.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, Filipinos usually, they
Yeah.
have a good party.
That's another thing I'm looking forward to is just like being a part of more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't grow up with that. It was just kind of our unit. And there was an aunt that, like a family friend that would be the glue of that circle. And once she moved away, like that, those like family hangouts ceased to exist.
No.
So as far as like birthday memory, like it's hard. I'm sure there are a few, but only the recent ones kind of come to mind. And it's like I've talked about this in previous episodes with my parents. Like there's a part of me, and I feel like a lot of children of immigrants kind of feel this way too, of like a longing to have some type of friendship. Once you are established as like a complete adult individual, there's a part of you that maybe it's just like it's deeply rooted in a lack of attention growing up. But if we were to move forward, I would like to have some type of friendship, but there's just no curiosity on my parents' behalf. And maybe they don't have the words to ask. I don't know. Maybe there is a curiosity, but they don't ask. And I try not to put too much pressure. And people have asked me, like, even if they don't, like, do you still have it in you to continue to love them? It's like, yeah, it is. I do. And it's just, it's not the same, I guess, with Justine's parents. Whereas, like, Justine's parents helped paint this place.
Oh, wow.
Right? They went out of their way, and we were probably not even a year into dating, I think. And like he built me a shelf for my bathroom.
Yeah, I saw that.
Painted this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they do so much, and they remember. Let's say they remember names of like individuals or friends that we've brought up in conversation whom they've never met, and then at the wedding shower, they're like, "You're such and such."
That's cool.
What? Like,
Yeah.
so it's paying attention, listening, and being curious in their kids' lives.
Yeah.
That go a long way, and I think the kids definitely want that, especially as an adult. But I'm also trying not to force it.
So I guess one of the benefits to marriage and something that you're going to be gaining
Yeah.
from marrying Justine is her parents.
Yeah.
You get that, maybe that portion of your life that you didn't once have. And that's kind of that unity, right?
Absolutely.
And that could be beneficial. So then what I got from that is your favorite birthday memory is having dinner with your friends.
Yeah. Justine, my friends, and good food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Last but not least, then bang, marry, kill, favorite cheeses. We just had this conversation on Saturday. It was a good conversation.
This
actually.
is bringing back Bub Boys.
Yeah. Dude, don't joke when my brother-in-law goes, all right, fuck, marry, kill cheeses. And I'm like, whoa. The conversation, no joke, lasted like 20 minutes because we were all like, what, you like Munster?
Yeah.
Like, it was just a good one. Yeah.
Probably kill my buddy Justin, who owns cold brew coffee, Kyoto Black. He loves like the funkiest stuff.
Dude,
so,
the
like,
funkier the better.
Camembert.
Yeah.
Right? Probably kill Camembert. I'm good with like a 5-year-old aged cheddar.
Okay.
Probably. Would you say marry that? I don't know.
Or,
And then
or
what would I
jipping.
fuck? I
Yeah.
don't know. Swiss? I don't know. What am I?
Really? Good Lord.
What? I mean, what's the type of cheese that you would fuck?
I would fuck Gouda.
Gouda.
Yeah.
Now, if we were to go one step further, like, do you add this cheese on anything else, or just straight up like?
Well, it's like
just
you
on a charcuterie board. That's what, patented by trademark by Justine. I'm sure
charcuterie.
other people have said that, but yeah, charcuterie board. Are we talking just a charcuterie board?
Well, it's like you had to choose, like, so like occasionally, okay, I'll have Gouda, and then I think what was my marry was, or maybe my marry was Gouda, and my fuck was a brie.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I like brie a lot.
Yeah, we did like take out Thanksgiving from Alinea. We had like a fancy Thanksgiving dinner. The only thing you have to cook is the turkey. But they had like a baked brie. It was so nice.
Dude,
it was good.
Unreal. It is. That's the thing. Brie can be good for sweet and for savory. That's why it's a very it's a good universal cheese.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good one. That's a nice fancy one.
Yeah, it is. And then I would kill, I think it was Swiss.
Interesting.
Swiss or
Okay.
Munster. I'm trying to think.
Why? Too bland or?
Yeah, Munster's just kind of boring. It's
Yeah.
like it's like that cousin that hangs out in the corner of every get together and just keeps to
You
himself.
ever go to Fontanos?
I don't think so.
No, it's right behind the UIC library, or Conti. di
I think
Savoia.
so. It's been a while though, man.
What? So as far as like Italian deli, like what's a go-to cheese on?
Asiago. So
How many delis have Asiago?
so if you go by us, it's called Frangella's. Frangella's. It's on Route 83 and Southwest Highway. Asiago.
Nice.
You get a brick of Asiago, provolone, and mozzarella, and you do those 3 combos in any pasta. Game changer. So
Oh.
growing up, no joke, like bringing up Dad again, he would always have a brick of Asiago cheese in the drawer in the fridge along with the other 2, and we would just be prepping dinner, and we would always just cut up slices and eat that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and raw onions. For some reason, him and I would eat raw onions.
Red onions or yellow onions?
Yellow.
Ew, what?
Yeah, just toss them in the mouth and raw. Yeah, it started. Yeah, I remember I broke my nose a bunch of times, so I had nose surgery, and while I couldn't, you couldn't taste anything when your nose is broken. And no joke, he was just like, hey, try sardines out now. He's like, since you can't taste it, he's like, try it with like the funky cheese or like Asiago and sardines go really good together on a cracker.
Oh, wow.
Killer. Oh, man. So I started eating that. And since then, no joke, if someone's like, I got sardines or I got like pickled herring, I'm like, let's go. Let's eat it, It's just crazy. I don't know. It's interesting how your palate changes over time,
Yeah, things that you were like, oh my God, that's so gross. It smells gross.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's...
Dude, the funkier the cheese, the better it is with wine, too, though, I found.
Interesting.
Yeah. My one uncle, he's really into like fine wines and everything. He's got a really nice wine cellar at his home. And growing up, he would always have these different cheeses I never knew the names to, and his fancy French wine, and we would just get fucking hammered on it, eating like $15 cheeses and $55 bottles of wine upward,
Sure.
being 18 years old, like, this is great, Yeah, man, it's crazy. So, yeah, I guess what I want to do is I think it would be cool. We should do a recap like every year of this. I think it'd be kind of cool if we just kind of keep touching base and kind of see what's going on.
You're a fine human being, Tom.
Oh, stop it. It's good talking to you, man. There was even so much more I wanted to talk about, but we could just save it for next time.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully by the next time we talk, I'm going to start I have pretty much my second album ready. The core of it's done. I got about 30 songs recorded. I may do a double album. I'm not entirely sure, certain what I want to do, but.
How is Speak Your Mind received?
You know what? On Spotify, I have over like 3,000 plays on every song, so people have been listening to the album, which is cool. You know,
What do you think gets the word out? Is it actually playing live shows or like what?
I think that helps, and also on social media, like it's paying for those ad placements and things like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Like where you're gonna do a voiceover or like play your song as an ad.
so like you pay for ad placement, like so on Instagram. If you scroll,
Yeah.
like you'll occasionally see things
Oh,
that
on
you don't
Instagram.
follow. Yeah, on Instagram.
Oh, sure.
So you do that, and then it would pop up like, oh, check out this. It would be a post.
Yeah.
It would guide people to like my page or my link tree. Do it that way. You know, but yeah, unfortunately, when you're a musician, the only way you're going to get known is by getting out there. Yeah, but it's a grind, man. You got to play constantly. And like the hardest thing has been not playing as much since Vinny was born. But, you know, we're slowly getting back out there. The fall, we're going to kind of gear back up again. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's just amazing how, like even being away from music for that long, I realize still how important it is to me. You know, just one of those things I feel like that's going to just be forever ingrained.
What do you
in me.
think you could comfortably manage? Like a gig a month or a gig every 2 weeks?
I think Nikki and I were talking, and even the guys. It's funny because we have all gotten so kind of comfortable with not grinding it out every single week.
Because you guys don't live close to each other,
Well,
right?
me and Matt do, and then Zach's out south right now, but you know, we still get together and we
Yeah.
practice every week for the wedding. When we get a couple weeks out, we're gonna do 2 a week, but you know, we were probably thinking about anywhere from 1 to 3 a month, and I think that's good. You know, but my goal is if we can't play as much, then I want to try finding better paying gigs to supplement for the gap.
Now,
Yeah.
is that a step up from breweries or certain
Yeah.
breweries? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's step up from like bar gigs to private events. And this summer, that's what we've been doing. Like, I think we've played like maybe 3 bars this summer, breweries and so on. Maybe even just 2. The rest were block parties, private events, birthday parties, wedding for you. And in October, we're doing another block party. And then I'm doing we're playing a golf outing
Oh, wow.
in October.
Yeah, I've
as
never
well.
heard a band at a golf outing. That's
Yeah,
cool.
in my industry, people like they would try to find live music for it all the time, and I would love to cross market it. It's just that all of our events always land during the day, and you know, Matt and Zach also have careers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and you know, Zach's in construction, so if he were to take a half day to go gig, he would get motherfucked up and down the block from his crew. Matt's a teacher, so he could just take it if he wanted to. But you know, so again, if I do that, I want to make sure it's worth my guys' time.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
So again, so we're all getting paid and everything for our time, because we've been doing it long enough where it's like you kind of know your worth, but still, like, you still second guess yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, put it out there, and if no one's biting, then you can go back to what you were doing.
exactly. So,
It's all good.
yeah, man. So, again, next year, I'm hoping I will be wrapping up on the album for number 2. We're wrapping up Kevin's album right now.
Oh, good.
The guy, drummer in my band, who played with me on the album, he's like into prog metal though. It's very kind of unique. So it's super cool though. I mean, it's completely different than what I do. Like, you know, it's completely different. So I like helping him with it though. I think I wrote an acoustic song for him on it, which is like an interlude before like this really heavy metal song.
Nice.
Really cool. And then I'm writing words right now to another song for him. So
That's amazing.
yeah, I love it, man.
I hope you fill your cup.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, we'll be filling our cups a lot at your wedding in a few weeks. I can't
Yeah.
wait. It's gonna be exciting, man. You'll be a married man soon.
Yeah. Yesterday or 2 days ago, we just noted it was like a month. It's a month away. So
Yeah, it's crazy. God, we've been talking for 2 hours.
Where can people find you if you want to be found?
Oh, on the Instagrams, at I believe it's Tommy Purrazzo. Shit, let's take a quick look on the Instagram.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think so, right? What is? Yep. Find me on Instagram at Tommy Purrazzo, TommyPurrazz, or check out my band page on Facebook entitled Matt, Zach, and Tom. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I will see you next time. Thank you, Vic. All right, bye.